Welcome to Monday Next. We are two siblings with two different businesses, but you will only find honest conversations.
I'm Scott Monday, founder of Kitchen and Bath Crate, where we've turned construction chaos into systematic excellence with guaranteed timelines and results that break every industry rule.
And I'm Meredith Monday Schwartz, CEO of Here Comes the Guide, a wedding venue platform built on relationships instead of commissions, run by an all-women team that proves heart-forward business practices actually equal profit.
We're siblings who spent 15 years challenging each other's business philosophies, and we finally decided to hit record. Every week, we prove there's no right way to build a great business, just audacious choices that actually work.
No guests, no fluff, just the conversations we'd be having anyway. But now you get to listen in. Whether you're team heart forward or team systems first, or you're still figuring out what kind of leader you want to be, we are here to show you that business doesn't have to be boring, generic, or completely removed from real life.
This is Monday Next.
All right, Scott, we are finally here. We have finally hit record on our first episode, something we have talked about doing for a really long time.
Super excited about this. I've learned so much from you the last 15 to 20 years. And to be able to do it in this setting is just sort of a dream come true. Sounds a little overdone, but really looking forward to this project with you.
Yeah, no, I love it. And we have been talking for a long time. Obviously we've known each other from the beginning.
We go way back.
We go way back. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we have been talking about our business together for such a long time, getting together regularly in person when we lived close together. And now we get together virtually. I live in Austin, Texas. You live in Modesto, California, where we were born and where we grew up. And it's been so great for us to be able to continue to have this relationship beyond just our family relationship, our business relationship, because there's no question that our conversations have really enabled me to look really closely at my business, look at it through your lens, which is often different than mine.
Yeah, totally. And over the years, I've learned so much from you, and I don't really have very many people in my life that run businesses like you do. I'm sort of surrounded in a little bit of an echo chamber by people that operate similarly to the way I do. And so to be able to riff with you, bounce things off you over the last number of years, hear a perspective that I rarely get has been extraordinarily valuable. And I look up to you as a sister, of course, but as a kick-ass business owner and operator. And I love our conversations. And over the years, I appreciate all the ways you've invested in me as a business owner as well.
Yeah, it's very helpful. So our episodes will follow a format. Scott, one of the places where you and I are really similar is we love a format. We love to kind of set a system and then make it happen. So that's what you will find in these episodes. This first one is a little bit different only because we need to introduce ourselves to our listeners. We need to give you a little bit of a framework about you and I as people and then as business owners. So I'll start out and tell you that, as I said, we are sister and brother. There are actually three of us in our family. There are three siblings. I'm the oldest. We have a sister who's right in between the two of us. And then you and I are 7 years apart. So I'm 7 years older than you are. The net effect of that was that as we were growing up, we almost never fought with each other. I think that 7-year age difference really made it so that we didn't argue or fight. We just kind of always got along.
Yeah, I've never remembered growing up there being any type of competition between us or anything other than support. And I do agree with you. The age gap certainly contributed to that. And then I think also for a window of time as you left the home and then I stayed back and then I went to college and then you went into the workforce and college as well. You and I spent, I think, a significant amount of time in dialogue, but not proximate to each other. And I think it was during that window of time that my appreciation for you grew even further. So when we sort of came back together in our late 20s, early 30s, two people that came from the same background, but both had 10 years or so of different life experiences. And it was like this great combination of the familiar, but also the foreign in a good way.
Exactly. The other thing I've been thinking about that has made it really helpful for us to have this ongoing discussion about our businesses together, specifically with the two of us, is because I can be really honest with you when we have these conversations. If I'm having a really big struggle in my business, I don't have to be at all worried that you're going to change your opinion of me, that you're going to not like me anymore. Because of our family relationship, we know that we can be completely honest and vulnerable. And that honesty comes into play because also we can say things to each other that maybe other people in our lives wouldn't be willing to say to us. At least I know in my life, you are able to say things to me that I know other people in my business life wouldn't say.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind is authentic. I feel like I can be authentic with you. I can share the good and the bad. And sometimes, quite frankly, sharing the good can be a little more difficult in the worlds we work in
Yeah,
because you don't want to sound egotistical. You don't want to make it all about yourself. But sharing the wins is absolutely as important as the challenges and the losses. And so I've always loved being able to send you a text when we've reached certain milestones or things like that that are a little uncomfortable to share with friends, if you will.
right.
But it's a really safe spot to also share the victories, right?
Exactly, exactly. So it's been really, really helpful. And the reason that we wanted to press record is because we know that we've benefited so much from these conversations that we wanted to see like, okay, how can we take this and leverage this out a little bit further? So let's talk a little bit about our specific businesses. Scott, tell us about Kitchen and Bath Crate, how you started it, and some general information about size of business and where you guys are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So started the corporation back in 2010, right? Sort of in the teeth of that downturn, and initially went into more of a traditional contractor world, but very quickly had this crazy idea at a Costco to put kitchens in a box. And you were actually my first test customer. Don't know if you
Yes.
remember. I hope you
I,
do.
I do.
Uh,
I got a
yeah,
beautiful kitchen.
yeah. And I remember sitting in your kitchen at your bar area, managing the job as we were testing this idea of delivering a kitchen remodel in just a few days for a great price. And so this whole idea of taking this broken world of kitchen and bathroom remodels and turning it into a system really it took off, quite frankly. And as we sit here today, there's 45 team members on my team. We've completed over 1,500 kitchen and bathroom remodels. We've made an acquisition in the tile and stone space. We've launched a commercial division. We've acquired our property that we're on right now in the Modesto region. We did all that shortly after COVID. And so it's just been this wild ride that all started with this really silly idea of putting your kitchen remodel in a box at Costco and delivering it to the front of your house. And I guess look at us 15 years later, we've come quite a long way. So tell us about Here Comes the Guide. You've been there for an exceptionally long period of time, and you've done amazing things with it. Fill us in on that.
All right. Well, Here Comes the Guide actually started back in 1989. It was started by Lynn Broadwell, who was our founder. And she had this idea back in 1989, obviously before the internet. She wanted to get married, but she wanted to get married at a place that wasn't a church or a golf course. And in 1989, obviously, couldn't just go online and find a place. And it was just harder than it should have been to find her wedding venue. So she goes to her hairdresser and they're talking about this problem that she's trying to solve. And her hairdresser says, I actually just went to a wedding on a yacht in the San Francisco Bay Harbor. And Lynn was like, oh my God, I had no idea you could even do that. At the same time that she had a light bulb about being able to have her own wedding at a really cool venue, she did get married on a yacht. She also had the idea that there has got to be a better way to find all kinds of wedding venues. And that's how Here Comes the Guide was born. I joined the company in 1997. I was 24 years old, and I have been there ever since. In 2008, I took over Here Comes the Guide, and I've been running it ever since. In 2016, we bought out Lynn, and now we are completely employee owned. And we are 44 all women. We have the best time. We are profitable, and we do the kind of work that we feel really, really good about. It's really important that we've created a company that serves our clients. Our wedding venues are our clients. Wedding venues pay us to advertise on the Here Comes the Guide site. It's super important to me that we provide an amazing service to our wedding venues. And also, it's been really important to me. The mission of my life's work at Here Comes the Guide has been to create a company that is the best possible place for women to work who want to be able to have a career that's meaningful to them, to really be their best selves in their work, and also have a life outside of work and have that balance. I believe really strongly that there is a way to build a company that allows women to have both of those things. Here Comes the Guide is that company. We are enormously proud of it. We don't have any debt. We don't have any venture capital. We don't have any investors. We are completely bootstrapped from day one, and we've been profitable every year that I've managed the company, and I'm really, really proud of it. So it's interesting because some of the things that are similar about the two of us are that we both tend to have ideas about business that could be termed as being audacious. That's a word that you will hear here on Monday Next a lot, right? Because we both like to challenge industry norms. I think both of us love it when someone tells us, "Oh, you can't do that thing," right? That is something that is really incentivizing for the two of us. So in each of our businesses, we'll be talking about the places that we have challenged industry norms. Sometimes we both do it in the same way, and sometimes we do it in different ways. But that is something that you will hear us talk a lot about. We both also really do like systems, and we both really care very much for the people who work for us and the company that we're creating and the integrity of that company within the industry that we're working. So lots of ways that we are similar. Scott, however, as I said, multiple ways that we differ. So we're going to chop some of that up here right after we do what we will do at the beginning of every episode, which is our Monday moment of the week. So Scott, do you have a moment from this last week, like really in real time? That's what this segment will be about. Something that stuck out to you business-wise about the week that we've just passed.
Yeah, I'll definitely highlight a day this week where a key team member of mine, we went on a little bit of a road trip where it's a commercial division, the one I'm speaking of. And so our customer is typically general contractors. And so it is a very B2B type of business, different than the kitchen and bathroom remodeling business that I initially started, and that's now being run and operated by two other individuals. So Brian and I, one of my key guys, we went and we did a little bit of a tour in the Bay Area to some potential customers, some existing job sites. We felt like we stopped at Panera and then a job site and then Panera and then an office. We were like, the Santa Claus of carbohydrates and delivering things to these customers. And it was so fulfilling. It was so fun. I came back and I told my wife, Melissa, I just love days like this. And the takeaway for me is, as a business owner and operator, this eternal pursuit of stacking up those days where you can say, today I did these things that are this intersection of the things I'm really good at and the things that I have passion for. And I've heard it called a zone of genius, right? I feel like that's a little overdone. But regardless, the more days I can build like that, and the more days that I can use my business as a tool to help myself and my team be in those types of days, as many days as possible, those days just like fill my heart, make me excited. I wake up the next morning like, let's do it again. And so that was something that stuck out to me this week as a real authentic Monday moment that I loved.
Something that lights you up. And that's one of the things that, as you and I have had conversations over the years, we will be really quick to point out to each other those things when we see it in each other. Like, that is, let's talk more about that thing because I can see that it really lit you up. That's something we've had a lot of discussion about. How do we move, now that we're the CEOs of our company, how do we move more into more days where we're having that, where we're in that zone of genius, where we are in that, sometimes I'll think of it as being in a flow state, especially if I'm doing that deep work where you lose track of time. I absolutely love that. I'm thinking about the fact that we just wrapped up our annual check-ins with each one of our employees. So every quarter, obviously, we have what we call QCIs, or quarterly check-ins, and those are done via email. They go over KPIs, they go over, just those kind of key things. They do a temp check, just a really regular systematized check-in. But once a year, my COO and I get together and we're a fully remote company at Here Comes the Guide. And so we make sure that once a year we get together and we do 90 minutes with every single one of our employees, every one of them. And we talk about, yes, those things like KPIs and, the work that's happening right now, but we also talk about what are the places for that employee? Where are the places that you're really lit up? What kind of work do you want to be doing more of? We talk about the things that Lisa, my COO, and I want to see more out of that employee, whether it's something they're not doing or things that they're doing and we want to see more of. We talk about any performance issues that need to be addressed. We talk about what that employee wants their future in the company to look like. So it's a lot of work. It takes us almost an entire month to move through those annual video check-ins with 44 people. But every single time we do it, every single time we're done, Lisa and I feel like we not only had moments of connection with each one of our employees, which is so important to us, but also we have a 360 view of the company that I think you can only have when you've sat down with every single person. A lot of my CEO cohort have asked me, like, clearly, Meredith, you could staff that out. Like, why are you on all of those calls? I don't think there's any better way to actually show every member of your staff that they are key to the running of your business than by saying the COO and the CEO want to sit down and spend 90 minutes with you and really, really find out about you and get a sense of where you are. So I'm always so happy to do it, but it is a hugely heavy lift.
Yeah, absolutely. That one-on-one time is so critical. And the fact that you do that, I think you've always overperformed when it's come to the supporting of your team and checking in with them and aligning kind of what their goals and desires are with their role at your company. And sometimes that can be a challenge, right? To fit the right person in the right seat on the bus, if you will. And but it does just take time to understand, to listen, to gather the information. But really, it's like the quintessential 80-20, right? Listen 80%, talk 20%. And I think that just empowers our people to do their best work.
Yeah, that is really, really important to me, and a topic that we're going to talk about moving forward in one of our episodes, because there are big upsides to the way that I lead in that way that is very people-centered. There are some downsides to that too, and you have helped me to see those things and modulate for them, which has been really helpful. So we'll talk about that in another episode. But today, we are going to talk about something that is one of the places, Scott, where you and I disagree most. And it's a place that is of core functionality to each of our companies. What we're going to talk about today is commission-free sales. So I'm in a sales business, you're in a sales business, right? We both staff a lot of salespeople. That is, we each offer a service to our clients. We don't offer a product that we're just putting in a box and shipping. Sales is the heart of what we do. Tell me how generally at Kitchen and Bath Crate, you guys are a commissioned sales structure.
Yeah, great question. So we have 3 sales professionals, and they don't do any lead generation of their own. They are handed what we call in-home collaboration sessions. We have a team member, McKenna, that screens the leads, schedules the in-home collaboration session, and then the salesperson takes it from there. So they'll go to the home, they'll meet with the customer, they'll gather the data that they need to generate a proposal. They'll come back and go through the proposal. If the customer moves forward, they will quarterback the design phase with one of our 2 designers. And then they will complete the recipe for the job, if you will. We call it a project data sheet, but they'll complete the recipe for the job, and then they'll hand the job off to project management. So when I say sales, I'm talking about the person that receives the lead and then signs a contract, completes the design, and hands it off to production. So just to set the table of what I'm talking about when I say sales.
Right.
The
And
way they're
that, wait, let me just ask you. So once the invoice is signed, is that the end of their relationship with the customer?
Once the contract is signed, that is the end of their role on their project. We have a few post design meeting and contract signing touch points along the way so that the customer doesn't feel like they're just dropped into the hands of someone else. But I will say that the salesperson's focus definitely moves on to other opportunities after that contract is signed.
Okay.
Now, as far as the compensation goes, our team has a combination of base salary, traditional commission, and then a bonus structure. We call it bump bonuses. During the training phase, it's much heavier on the fixed salary because we don't want people to be destitute while they're training. In my industry, that's actually a little bit unusual. A lot of times the base salary is either not there or very low, even from day one, because some owners feel like that incentivizes sales to produce.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like that leads to this feeling of quasi-homelessness. So,
sure.
and it
Right.
does take a while to learn our sales system. It's probably a 6 to 9 month process. But regardless, when a salesperson is fully manifested, they will be receiving a salary that represents about a fifth to a sixth of their overall compensation. So it's a very low base salary. The commission that they receive is a percentage of job profitability. So every job returns a certain amount of job profit. Sales receives a portion of that. And the reason we do that is because we want their performance in terms of their accuracy of their estimate and even their support during construction. All of that influences job profit, and therefore we want to tie their compensation to that key metric, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we also want to incentivize gross sales volume throughout the year. So we have certain levels that if you hit X amount of gross sales for the year, you get a lump sum bonus that's about a tenth of your overall compensation. If you hit the next tier, it's another tenth, right? So it can be very lucrative as the year progresses for them to close more deals and to make more sales because they're also chasing the bump bonus. So those are the three.
Who sets those tiers?
Yeah, those tiers are set in a collaboration between Jake, who runs Kitchen and Bath Crate, and the sales team. In fact, right about now is when we establish those bump bonus tiers for the next year. And so, yeah, that's the way we're set up. I just have a hard time believing that you will ever fully incentivize a sales team without some type of commission structure or bonus structure. I don't see it working. I see, even if a sales force does well, I see them not achieving their full potential. And I, quite frankly, and you and I have talked about this, I love you, but I am completely against a non-commission based sales type of role.
All right. So the fact that you're saying that you can't see that it would work, even though you know that Here Comes the Guide, it has worked for the entire time we've been in business.
When I say I didn't mean to say it doesn't work. What I meant to say is it doesn't work in achieving a maximized amount of sales from your salespeople.
Okay.
So they're not squeezing more, in my opinion.
Okay. I don't disagree with you. Squeezing every bit of juice out of my people is definitely not my top priority, but being really profitable definitely is. So Here Comes the Guide has a no commission sales structure. So of our 44 people, 25 people on my team work with clients. They work in very small groups of like 2 and 3, working with the same clients together. We have multiple tiers of salespeople, so they make more money based on how long they've been with us, what their job responsibilities are. We have everything from junior salespeople all the way up to area leads, and again, graduated income there. We strongly prioritize the relationship with our clients. Now, our situation is different because we obviously, the wedding venues are our clients. They buy advertising from Here Comes the Guide to be on the Here Comes the Guide site. These relationships, we have relationships that have been going on longer than I have been at the company. So once our salespeople have a relationship with a venue sales manager at, Hotel Del Coronado or whatever place that you want to think about, they literally could have a relationship with that venue for decades, and they could have a relationship with that particular venue sales manager for a really, really long time. So what we have found and what I feel is so important to our business is that when I remove the commission element of things, it enables my people to have the purest, most heart forward relationship with their counterpart at the venue. They don't have to be thinking that they want to maximize exactly what it is that the venue buys from Here Comes the Guide, right? And there's different levels that venues can purchase from us. They can purchase a basic listing, they can purchase featured listings on top of that. There's all kinds of things they can purchase. What I always want my people to do is I want them to be so in tune with the venue that they have a really good sense, not of what we want the venue to purchase from us, but of what the venue needs for the venue's business and how can we provide that. And we have found that when we take out of the equation the issue of the Here Comes the Guide salesperson having to think about, well, I need to maximize this because I need it to be the biggest invoice possible because I need to pay my rent, the relationship becomes a lot more simplified. Now, the other really big factor here is that we have in this wedding, venue sales, advertising sales space, we have we don't have a lot of competitors, but we have a couple of really big ones. And those really big competitors are heavily commission based. And you can really see in the way that they interact with their clients that is the case. So a no commission sales structure for Here Comes the Guide is a huge distinguishing advantage. We can use that, and we do, to sell ourselves to venues, saying like, hey, you can trust the advice that we give you because I'm going to make the same amount of money whether you buy from Here Comes the Guide or you don't. That has served our company really, really well. And again, we have these long-term relationships with venue managers who will then, when they move from one venue to another venue, we will be their first call because that salesperson on my staff is the person that they really trust to help them manage their advertising set for their venue business. It's worked really well for Here Comes the Guide. It also creates a system within my people that they don't have to be worried about what they're going to make that month. They have a regular income, which just takes the temperature down for everyone who works for me.
Two things. Number one, I think it's easy to say, I don't believe in commission-based sales because I believe in building relationships and selling to the needs of the customer, a selfless form of selling. And my response to that is, it can be both.
Okay, you tell me how you assure both.
Yeah. So you can have a highly motivated, commission-driven sales machine that is out there putting in full effort because they love the hunt, they love the kill, they love bringing it back, they love the commission check. It is the way they're wired. And that you can also have that same person really care about the customer, have that same person motivated for the long game and not the short game, right? And I think that comes down to hiring, number one. And what I mean by that is finding the right character, the right person with the right ethics, but also training. We don't train to upsell. We don't train to target the 80-year-old homeowner because she may be a little more vulnerable to these tactics, right? That's not the culture of our sales system or our DNA. Mm-hmm. So I think you can have both a commission motivated bulldog of a salesperson and someone that cares genuinely for the customer. But I wonder, Meredith, we're focusing on commission-based sales, which in my opinion falls under this larger category of performance-based pay. And I think commission is a form of performance-based pay, but by no means the only, or perhaps I'd argue maybe not the best, right? Talk a little bit about how you do share the wins with your team through performance-based pay, because I know that's part of your DNA of your company as well.
Exactly. Right. And I don't want to forget to say, I do agree that you have found a way to be able to hire, and I want to come back to that piece because I think it's really important, people who can do both of these things, because it's clear in Kitchen and Bath Crate's reputation in the industry that you are sending people out who are selling the product that the client really needs, and that's what they end up paying for. That's what they end up being really happy with. So watching your business, I do tend to agree. Of course, we know that there are a lot of commission-based businesses that don't run with a lot of integrity. And I think that that's where a lot of commission-based pay gets a bad rap that it really doesn't deserve. To your point, you're right. So we do a couple of things to help our team feel like as a team, we are really working together to have these wins. So the other thing that I worry that commission-based pay does is I don't love the fact that in certain environments, it can create a competition amongst the team. And that is something that I have always really wanted to have us all working together to get to the same place rather than having people kind of be out for themselves. The way that we do that then is we do a full profit share. So as I said, at Here Comes the Guide, we are employee owned. And in addition to that, at the end of every one of our fiscal years, I do a really, really simple calculation. Like, this is how much we took, this is the revenue we took in, these were our expenses, and this is our profit. We take that profit amount and we literally split it equally throughout the company. It doesn't matter how long you've been at Here Comes the Guide.
Literally you have 40 people, it is X amount divided by 40.
Exactly. Right.
Very socialist of you.
It is very social. Well, I'm not going to claim that, but it is very equal. And what I like about that is from the beginning, well, people have to have been with us for a full fiscal year, but as soon as they've been with us for a full fiscal year, they are fully vested in this profit sharing system. What that does is we are all working for profit. So kind of like what you said, I have people who work in a really heart forward way who really care about their clients. Every one of my people also care very much about how Here Comes the Guide does as a company and how much money they make from Here Comes the Guide. They absolutely care about that. We are all working together for each other and for ourselves to make sure at the end of the year that we have a really healthy profit to split equally among ourselves. Now, I know that it's really surprising that we split it so equally. We don't base it on seniority or any of those things. The other thing we do is at every quarter, we do have some incentives that are set for every single team member. But these are set if you're in sales. Sometimes they're money related, they're sales goal related.
Yeah.
And it's a very small amount of their overall picture, less than 10% of their overall picture. But it's just a little bump. It's not a big part of their financial picture. But this also applies to our people who are in production or people who are, in the finance section, in our product section, people who aren't working directly with clients, but who are still hugely important to us all getting where we want to go. So everybody has incentives. They're all effort-based. And so we really want to be able to help them to feel like, okay, the harder I work, the more I'm going to make in profit at the end of the year, the more I'm going to make in my quarterly incentive. So we do have those things baked in too.
Yeah. And I think you and I agree also that it's really important to know each of your team members, what they're motivated by. And that's sometimes too often not money. Mm-hmm. And we have a sales team that they come from a background, and in my industry, they tend to be money motivated. Mm-hmm. But we have lots of people on my team that I would not describe them as money motivated. I can think of a team member that's been with me for a long time, and what they most value is time off. And so instead of a escalation of compensation or a commission structure or anything like that, over the years, we've built in additional time off as their benefit, and they love it, right? That's their thing. So um, where do you stand on that? When you have a group of people that all have the same role at Here Comes the Guide, are you willing to consider different structures for different people, or does that create too cumbersome of an approach to be able to actually implement and even open you up to a that's not fair type of feedback from various people?
Right. We do have some play and we do make some of those adjustments. The bigger we've gotten, the more we've tried to normalize across the role, these kinds of things
Right.
for exactly the reasons that you point out. But I love being able to personalize where I want to. To your point about time off, the other thing that really comes into play at Here Comes the Guide for the way that we work is that we have a 4-day work week. And we work Monday through Thursday, 32 hours a week for the people who are hourly. So it's not like they're having to do 40 hours in 4 days. It's literally a true 4-day work week. And that piece of things for the people who work for Here Comes the Guide is a huge benefit of working for Here Comes the Guide, whether they have kids or not. Having a 3-day weekend every single weekend is a huge boon to the way that they're living their lives. So to a certain extent, the package of benefits that we've put together appeals to a very specific kind of person who happens to be the specific kind of person that works really well with the kind of work and the way we present ourselves in the world. So it's a very specifically curated package of benefits that we offer. And it's when we're doing that hiring piece that we are working hard to get a sense of, does the package that we offer, is the kind of the whole bag of what we are at Here Comes the Guide, is it not only what is going to work for you from a work perspective, like actually, are you going to be good at doing the work, but is what we offer going to incentivize you or satisfy you from a point of view of the things that matter to you and where you are in your life right now. So how do you, because I think this is a really, really interesting thing. How do you, in your hiring, identify someone who is going to be an absolute dog with a bone as far as getting the sale, if at all possible, but also act with integrity and act to protect the reputation that you've built, which is a huge part of Kitchen and Bath Great, because that has been a distinguishing advantage for you in the industry that you're in. You guys are like, you represent doing business in the construction realm in a way that is completely different than most of us homeowners ever have experienced with any other company. You've worked hard for that reputation. So how do you hire someone who's going to be paid on commission and also really, really be a caretaker of that reputation?
Great question. I used to think the more I've been in business, the more I've come to realize that I don't know much and I can't really predict anything well.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds almost like I'm resigned in some way, but I think it's changed my mindset. And here's what I mean. When we hire, my approach is simply making decisions along the way that simply increase the odds of success.
Mhm.
I used to think if you did it right, it was close to 100% odds of success.
Yeah.
Now I believe that if you do it right, you're close to 30% odds of success. So we've taken a little more off the accelerator when it comes to the search and the initial interview process. And we put much more efforts on the end of the interview process. So like that last couple of weeks before the hire is made, and then the first 2 or 3 months that they're on your team.
Yep.
Because I think that's really where the rubber meets the road. And it's not that we like flippantly bring people on board, but I will say we go from here's our hiring process, here's our testing, here's our working interview process, which by the way, you are the reason we do that at our company. Your working interview approach is phenomenal, and we adopted that multiple years ago. It's worked really well. But really, once day one starts, which by the way, day one is, in my opinion, one of the most critical days for your people. It's like a goose imprinting on a dog, right? A little baby goose following the dog around because it thinks it's mom. The
Mhm.
first day someone's at work, they're imprinting on your culture like you would never believe. And you
Mhm.
will 100% screw that person up if you put them with the wrong person on day one, if you say the wrong thing on day one, if you look at them the wrong way on day one, because they're always going to remember Scott's an asshole because on day one he looked at me this way.
Mhm.
So didn't mean that to be a rant. Day one, super
Right.
important. But that first couple months, right? We are watching, we are looking for little tells, we are kind of, huh, right? Or we're like, oh my God, I want to hug you every time I see you. You are our person, right? It's almost like a business is an organism. And when you bring someone on board, it's like a body getting a transplant and it's either going to take or be rejected, right? And
Yeah.
our goal is to find the rejections. And I lost the analogy there, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to give you an analogy because it's one that I always think about with this. Because I mean, this is something we've talked a lot about. Yes, especially as we've grown, I went through this period of time where we were doing a lot of hiring, and we had up till this period of time, we had like almost a zero turnover, right? Like so many of us at Here Comes the Guide have been at Here Comes the Guide for decades. And so we had almost zero turnover forever. Well, we hit 2020. That's a story for another day.
Nothing is the same since then.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So we are absolutely going to dig into 2020 and how it changed each of our businesses, because that COVID weirdly ended up being rocket fuel for Here Comes the Guide. We ended up doing a ton of hiring, but then we started having more instances where people were not that perfect fit and we had to let some people go. And I started really feeling like, okay, have I lost my like historically magical ability to hire these amazing unicorns? No, we were just doing it more often.
Mhm.
And so, like you said, I would put it at more like at Here Comes the Guide, I would say we're more like 70% with our hires. But I had to really get to a place where I was okay with the fact that there was going to be 30% of the time where we got it really wrong and we had to move that person on. And my CEO coach said something to me that really stuck with me. And now I say it to my entire team, because again, we're all women. We all love Here Comes the Guide, and we call each other hoppies, right? Like that's our corporate name is Hopscotch Press. We call each other hoppies. It is an all for one and one for all mentality. But I had to tell them, do not name the puppy. And
Mhm.
what that means is, for the first 6 months, do not name the puppy. Do not name the new hoppy. Like in your head, in your heart, you need to hold very loosely to this new person, because those first 6 months, we may very well find out that they are not the right fit, and we need to move them along quickly. We need to find that out and move on it really, really quickly. That has been a hard one, difficult lesson, but it has been one of those that has helped us to really, within our structure, our no commission sales structure, find people that want to sell in a really heart forward, relationship first way. And we do that. We do have several parts to our hiring structure. We will be talking about that because both of us take hiring incredibly seriously. We have a lot of systems for that, but one of those things is we have a long conversation, and I sit on every one of those calls. Like, they get through several parts of the funnel before they get to me. But when they get to me, Lisa, my COO, and I have an hour long, at least, conversation. And I ask a shit ton of questions that really help me to figure out, are you motivated by relationships? Are you motivated by creativity in your sales, when you like creativity that comes from getting to know a client really well? So several questions that I ask in the interview about their previous jobs. That's a really big indicator. Help me to figure out, are you going to be a good thing for Here Comes the Guide? But also, are we going to be good for you? Are we going to feed you in the ways that you need to be fed? So finding that out and figuring that out. I'm glad that you said that, because the first 3 to 6 months is really where the rubber meets the road with figuring out, is that team member that new organ that's been transplanted that's going to make us healthier and give us more energy and more ability to accomplish what we need? Or do we need to get rid of it, take some antibiotics and go?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. I think I'm really excited about this podcast. I don't mean to over foreshadow, but I know next episode we're talking about the 4-day work week, right? Mm-hmm. Can't wait to dive into that. But this whole post-COVID world that we're living in, our hiring approaches and practices, these are all very fertile ground that I look forward to going over with you. Let me ask you this. If you switched to my sales approach and I switched to yours, what do we respectively think the results would be?
I mean, to be totally honest, I think most members of my team would probably move on to find something else, because none of us are interested in working in that way of having to be so like worried about what's going to happen every month. What leads am I going to get? How are they going to turn out? It's not because my team couldn't hang. Like, they absolutely could. They're such amazing salespeople. I just think most of them wouldn't want to. What do you think?
I think it would work out just fine for us, which I'm reluctant to say might give you the slight win on this topic. But if I'm being honest and authentic, I think if we adopted your sales approach, we would still execute and be just fine.
That's very interesting. I'm not sure you've ever said that to me before, that you think that you would be fine. Do you agree that a part of why you would be fine is because you would find a couple of other, like we have our quarterly incentives and our profit share, you would find a couple of other ways to build around it?
Yeah, 100%. And I probably should have led with that. Yes, not a throw performance-based pay out of the company, but pivoting to a more of a collaborative socialist form of performance-based pay. And I bring that up on the topic. One of my favorite, this is the type of nerd I am. I have a favorite form of performance-based pay at our company. Like, I really thought about what's my favorite. My favorite is one we have with Jake, who runs Kitchen and Bath Crate, which is inspired by this concept from a guy named Michael Girdley, who I follow. And it's a simple matrix. Along the top, it has our Kitchen and Bath Crate top line revenue for the year. Mm-hmm. Let's call it, just for fun, let's call it $5 million. It ranges from 5 to 7.5 million along the top. Mm-hmm. And then net operating profitability along the other edge, right? So let's say it ranges from 9% to 16%. Mm-hmm. So it's a grid, mm-hmm. 10 rows, 10 columns, mm-hmm. and then each one of those boxes has a lump sum in it, which is his bonus for the year. Mm-hmm. And I love it because what we do is we calculate it every quarter. Quarter one, we pay out 10% of the calculation. Quarter two, 20%. Quarter three, 30%. Quarter four, 40%. You add those up, it's 100%. So it kind of levels you out as the year goes along. That way, if you start out hot, you're not overpaying. If you start out cold, he's not being undercompensated. Okay. But I just love it because, and this really speaks to, I think, where my brain always defaults. It speaks to my clarity. It speaks to my data. It speaks to my alignment of my goals for the company with this key person's compensation. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think there's lots of ways to do performance-based pay. Mm-hmm. I don't think sales commission is the best for every situation. I think it's the best for my sales team, quite frankly. I do think we could operate in a different realm as well, but I firmly believe that performance-based pay is critical for an organization. And I'm quite frankly blown away by how many organizations don't have any of it.
Right. No, absolutely. And I'm laughing because so this is going to come up because, as you know, Scott, I view the world via the personality structure of the Enneagram, right? This is something that is super important to me. I think it is the best personality structure. You are an Enneagram 5. fives tend to be extraordinarily data-driven, analytical. It makes perfect sense that the grid that you were talking about, that is your favorite kind of part of it. I'm an Enneagram 1. My favorite part of our structure is when we get to the end of every fiscal year, especially fiscal years where we've done really, really well, where we split that profit equally because it feels so fair. And that's such an Enneagram 1 thing to be jazzed by. So it's just making me laugh because like we both have really found, ways that our personality shows through our business, right? Like for better or for worse, you, the CEO, the founder, that DNA is going to be running through the company. And I guess our goal here with Monday Next is to talk about the ways that we think that has been a good thing.
Yeah, I think we need to give credit and voice to the ways of operating that differ from how you and I operate. Listeners out there right now that operate businesses, they're thinking through, oh, I resonate more with Meredith on this one or Scott on this one. And that's the beautiful thing. When we think of large publicly traded corporations, they're like machines, right? Your Amazons of the world and things like that. You cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, compare that to what I call an SMB, small and mid-sized business.
Right.
It's apples and oranges, right?
It is. Yeah.
And what makes it apples and oranges is an SMB is an organism. Like by definition, it's an organism, right? And you have to run your SMB through that lens, knowing that it's going to get sick sometimes. It's going to there's going to be a great vibe to it. Just like as humans, we get sick. Sometimes we're jazzed about things, right? It's these ebbs and flows. And that's the thing about building a beautiful business, is acknowledging that it's this organism. And then, like you said, knowing that it's going to be highly influenced by those that lead it. And it's going to sort of end up looking kind of like what resonates with that person. And so it's not right and wrong any more than this human is right for being this way and this one is wrong for being this way. It's just organisms.
It's true. And if you have a super shitty leader or a craven, greedy, narcissistic leader, that DNA is going to go through the whole company and it's going to affect
100%.
everyone. So I think one of the big messages of Monday Next is going to be like, we need to be looking at ourselves and really saying, am I bringing the best version of myself to what I'm doing? Because it will filter down.
Yeah, Scott, it's like parenting, right? Well, hang on. It's like parenting, right? Like the things about ourselves, and you and I are going to talk a lot about family, because for a business operator, family is it's hugely challenging.
Yeah.
As a parent, we set the tone, right? Especially when they're younger. And where we are at our core weak, we see it in our kids and it drives us nuts, right? And so it's very similar to running a business, because like you said, it's like we are going to influence it to the good or to the bad, and obviously both, right? But it's very similar to leading a family. Would you agree or disagree?
I completely agree. They say that we parent through our own childhood wounding.
That's another,
which is really real. And I think if each one of us looks at it, we can say like, that's probably really, really true. So the point, to your point, the responsibility either as a parent and as a CEO or as the leader of your business, or if you're in leadership in your business, we need to really be doing work on ourselves, on our core key. Like we are responsible for all of that, our emotional health, because that is affecting people, that is affecting our family, and it sure as shit is affecting our businesses.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely true. Scott, we want to kind of end this deep dive section and begin to wrap up by talking about the to-do for our listeners. So if there was one thing that you're taking away from this that you think our listeners could sort of say, okay, what's the one thing you want them to think about based on what we've talked about today, to think through for their own business?
Yeah, great question. I, in talking with lots of other business owners, I'm very involved in an organization called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. I had the pleasure of leading that chapter in Sacramento until this last June, a one-year term. So I'm around a lot of business owners, and I talk to literally hundreds a year for various reasons. My challenge to the listener is to consider what role performance-based pay has in your organization. Are you Do you have any at all, right? Is that something you need to consider for 2026? And if so, is there a structure that you might want to research or use AI to chat with to help develop? Because while you and I differ on commission-based sales, I think we have some pretty significant overlap in the need for our organization to somehow tie some form of compensation to the overall success and health of the business. So my challenge to the listener would be, think about that, investigate that, consider that, and
Right.
think about what role that might have in 2026.
Right. Are you doing it at all? I think is a really good question. And then when you're with what you're doing, are you incentivizing the right things? Because that is that two-way street. We want to it's super important that those structures support the health of the business, because if they don't, obviously we run ourselves into the ground and nobody has a job. But also it's a huge important thing to think about, because it supports the health of the people who work for you, keeps them incentivized to do that business. So it's that two-way street. So that's exactly what I would say too. Really think on that piece of things for your own business, and maybe come up with one way that you could make a tweak, an adjustment, or introduce something new for 2026. It's a great time to be doing that thinking. All right, Scott, we're gonna end the way we normally do, which is with Monday family business. So we are family. It's an important thing that we think a lot about. Anything going on with your life right now that is bleeding into or affecting your business, and how are you managing that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've gone, when I say we, my wife and I have gone through an exceptionally rigorous travel schedule the last 8 to 9 months. I think we counted up 9 trips in 8 months. Some was business, some was personal, some was unavoidable.
I mean, you guys, I saw a lot of great vacation photos.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. And I think one of the rewards of having the people we talk about is the fact that when I'm gone, I have incredible individuals that are making great decisions along the way. When it relates to family, though, and maybe you can, maybe this resonates with you, when I'm away and with my family, specifically on vacation, there can be an anxiety there, an inability to truly disconnect from work. And so that's something I've always struggled with, and I continue to struggle with. And I think that's maybe a topic we can dive into. But when it comes to family and time away and family vacation, when you operate a business, to me, that can be a big challenge and something I'm working on.
Yeah, that is something that we are really working on. My husband, John, and I are very much at a point in our marriage. We've been married for almost 25 years now, where we are talking a lot about, like, can I establish a time of the day that work ends? Is there a possibility that work might end at some, obviously I have my work with Here Comes the Guide. I also do a book podcast, a currently reading podcast. Now you and I are doing this. You and I both we have trouble in this realm. This is a place where we really, you, Scott, and I struggle a lot. We are married to 2 people who are great for us in that they complement us, and they do not have that same struggle.
100%.
Which, thank the Lord for that.
Oh, can you imagine? It'd be a nightmare.
It would be like nuclear fusion.
I could not be married to me ever.
Yeah, 100%. So but that is something that we are talking about. I was just talking about it with my therapist last night, where she was like, I really feel like there needs to be a time of day where you're like, after this time, work is done for the day. And I was very present in how uncomfortable it made me when she said that, and also how little my mind could imagine that scenario. And that's troubling in and of itself. So this is a place of ongoing work for me too.
Yeah, definitely. We are all works in progress, are we not?
We are, absolutely. All right. Well, I am so glad that we did this today, Scott. I love talking with you, and I feel like we are going to look forward to hearing from our listeners to see, where do you guys land on the issue of commission sales structure, no commission sales structure? Which one of us resonated? Which one of us did you think was absolutely insane for running our business the way we do? Like, we want to hear about that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the feedback. Also, If you have topics or things you're struggling with, let us know, right? These are things we're looking for. We want to make sure we're speaking to our audience in a way that, really is pertinent. And so, yeah, let us know kind of what you're struggling with in your businesses. Maybe we can help, or if not, maybe we can at least riff about it here on the pod.
I love it. Okay. That's a wrap on another Monday Next episode. Before we sign off, here's where you can find us if you want to learn more about us. You can find me at Meredith Monday Schwartz on Instagram. And if you want to hear me talk about books instead of business, you can join me at the Currently Reading podcast.
Yeah. And for me, Instagram and TikTok at Scott Monday. And then I write a weekly Substack, scottmonday.substack.com, where I talk about building a business, changing culture, implementing AI, and applying systems to your family and personal life. Also, over on Instagram, go ahead and give us a follow at Monday Next Podcast on Instagram. We'll be producing some content for that and some other fun things. So yeah, once again, Instagram at Monday Next Podcast.
And if you're enjoying these conversations, the best thing you can do for us is tell someone about the show. Word of mouth is the best way for podcasts to grow. You are going to be our best engine for growth, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You can also help us out by rating us over on Apple Podcasts and sharing about us on your socials. Would you mind doing that? We'd really appreciate it if you did it. It's a great way for us to kind of get in touch with some new listeners.
And send us a DM if you have any thoughts about what we discussed today. Again, we want to know when you think we're completely wrong or completely right. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, so next week we are diving into this concept of a 4-day work week, which should be completely civil and not at all likely to cause severe disagreement between you and I, right, Meredith?
I mean, definitely not, because I am positive that the 4-day work week is one of the best things ever. And I challenge you to disagree with me.
Yeah, I am positive you're wrong, but that's for next week.
All right. Until Monday next, keep being audacious.